Back in the summer of 2024, I was playing modded Terraria as I normally do, and a pretty crazy idea came through my mind. What if Terraria had proper mod packs? Not just combining mods that were clearly not designed to be played together, but a real mod pack, with a real cohesive progression, and every mechanic from every mod being made compatible with each other. It seemed like a pretty good idea, and if we successfully combined the biggest mods together, we could create a mod pack that would have so much content. So I looked into it, and yeah, it was way too much work for myself. So I made this video, where I just talked about the idea that I would like to make a real ultra-modded mod pack, and turns out, I wasn't the only one wanting something like this, and a lot of people joined me to try and make this idea into reality. But even then, it seemed way too hard to achieve. So I made another video to present some of the stuff that was currently made, announcing the creation of a Patreon, and creation of paid positions, and safe to say, a lot of people had the same idea as me and wanted to see something like this happen. So I hired the development team and we got to work. Today I have a ton of things to tell you, not only about this project, but big news that I'm confident will shake the entire modded community. First, let's do a quick recap of the situation. The plan is to take a bunch of big content mods who were not supposed to be played together, and then create a compatibility mod to make them playable with each other by modifying the progression, crafts, balancing bosses, weapons and accessories, and expanding the mechanics of certain mods to make it playable with the other mods. The name of this mod pack, the Birthed Souls. Now, let me present to you the development team that was chosen. If you remember from the last video, 3 positions were created for the development of the mod pack: developer, spriter, and progression designer. Before presenting who was chosen, I first want to thank everyone that submitted the application to be part of the team. If you wasn't chosen this time, there will definitely be more opportunities in the future. So, for the developers in the team, we have Mumu, who worked on multiple very popular mods like Ultimate Skyblock or Mumu's Ultimate Yo-Yo Revamp, Tomat, who worked on Fargo Source and the Nitrate Optimization mod, Ye, who's the head developer of Calamity Vanity, and Nycro, who worked on the Calamity mod. For the spriters, we have Fred, who is responsible for some Calamity sprites like the Victory Shard or Blood Orb, and Triangle, a very talented spriter who's part of the Calamity team, responsible for making many sprites for enemies and weapons planned for the future Second Sea update, and also some reworked armors like Auric and Godslayer. For progression designer, we have Yitron, who is helping on the documentation and providing ideas for the progression, and Atom Eve, a person who works on the mod of Redemption, who's also helping by providing ideas for the items that will be added. Now that the team is introduced, let's get into the actual content that was made. First of all, let's talk about the progression of the mod pack. With the huge amount of bosses, simply using the order of bosses provided by boss list, like on boss checklist, was not going to be enough. See, following the progression as told by boss checklist doesn't make a lot of sense, since each mod had its own progression. So, instead of relying on the progression provided by boss checklist, we created our own progression, using all of the bosses from all of the mods included in the pack. I'm not gonna show you everything since I want to keep some of it secret, but we can look at the start of it. As you can see, we decided to divide the bosses into groups. For example, the first few desert bosses, Granther the Bird from Thorium, Desert Scourge from Calamity, Cursed Coffin from Fargo, and Pharaoh's Curse from Secret of the Shadows, are all in the group Mysteries in the Sand. Reworking the boss progression is definitely more difficult than I thought, because you have to take into account a ton of parameters. For example, what makes 2 bosses linked? This link between the Profane Guardians and Providence is explained because you obtain the Profane Core from the Profane Guardians, which is used to spawn Providence. So when linking 2 bosses together, you always have to think about the content that leads from one boss to another. It can range from making the first boss drop a material used to craft the summon for the next boss, making the first boss trigger a certain event that leads to the next boss, or even making a town NPC spawn that will sell you a material to summon the next boss. Adding interesting content between bosses is really important, since we are also trying not to make the mod pack feel like a boss rush, an issue that would be very noticeable and would make the gameplay loop very repetitive and boring if it was not addressed, due to the sheer amount of content and bosses in the pack. But we also have to be careful not to restrict the player too much. If we introduce too much links between the bosses, it could make the player feel restricted and not in control of their actions. So, the perfect progression is a balance of choice, which we are trying to do by dividing bosses into groups, and good progression design by having meaningful links and content between bosses. But if we do not use the progression from boss checklist, a valid concern would be, how is the player supposed to know the progression if the list from boss checklist is not reliable? We could get this whole diagram into a wiki and we could precise the content in between bosses, but no. The answer is much simpler. A quest book. Questbook have been an essential part of Minecraft mod packs for years, using the FTB Quest mod, and we could definitely recreate something like this and adapt it for modded Terraria. Our questbook could look a bit like this mockup I made. You would have multiple chapters for every important thing that you need to be told, and have the main chapter be the general boss progression, with the quest line resembling what you'll find on Minecraft with FTB Quest. We also have another concept where the questbook resembles more like an actual book. Having a quest system be integrated in the pack will help to keep the player more immersed while playing, as Terraria, and especially mods like Calamity, are infamous for requiring to use the wiki to progress through the game. Talking about the general progression, let's go over what is planned for the endgame of the pack. As you may have guessed already, the final objective of the player will be to craft the Soul of Eternity from Fargo Souls. And if you don't know what this item is, it's an accessory that combines almost all of the accessories in the game into one broken item. And in vanilla Fargo, the recipe looks like this. But of course, we'll need to add more items to the crafting tree from all of the other mods included. In Fargo Souls, most armor sets have a corresponding enchantment, which are accessories having an effect related to the armor set, and are crafted from the armor set itself and a couple of other items related to it. Multiple enchantments can be crafted into Force and then into a Soul, which will be used for the Soul of Eternity recipe. Fargo Souls only add enchantments for vanilla armor sets, but we can add the Fargo Souls DLC, which adds the enchantments, forces, and souls for Calamity sets, and Fargo Souls More Cross mod for the Consoleria sets. So we are left with Thorium and Secret of the Shadows sets to do. I'm not going to show you everything that we've made in terms of enchants, since most of the effects are still being made, but we have sprites made by Fred for a couple of them, which looks very cool. But before adding content into the Soul of Eternity crafting tree, we have to adapt it to the added mods. For example, the unchanged progression for boots leading to the Supersonic Soul looks like this. The middle parts looks fine, but we can see that the Terraspax boots split the progressions in 3, with this bit being from Thorium, this one from Secret of the Shadows, and the main one from Calamity and Fargo. Obviously, we don't want the progression to split like that, so we can place some of the misplaced pieces into the main progression, but now, some of the tiers happen at the same progression point. Since we want 2 tiers of boots to at least be separated by one major boss, we can introduce one item from Boss Golem into the crafting recipes of one of the boots to fix the problem. To add certain items into crafting recipes more easily, Nycro has been working on a system to change recipes in bulk using a single JSON file, which will be much more efficient than changing recipes one by one using C#. This is only for the boots progression, but we will have to do the same for many other item progression, like the shields leading to the Colossus Soul. But now, it's time to reveal what I consider to be the biggest news of this video, and something I'm really excited for. You know when I said that we created a system to change recipe way more easily? Well, features like this won't be limited to only existing on the Birth Souls mod pack. Instead, we are releasing a mod available right now that allows for other mod pack developers to use our tools to create their own mod packs. Introducing TPack Builder, an API containing 3 tools that we will be using to create the Birth Souls, but also available for anyone that want to give a try at making mod packs. And that's why the title of this video says that the era of Terraria mod packs is here. What I hope to see now that the first version of the API mod is released is a ton of people experimenting with the TPack Builder API to make their own mod packs with a ton of different mod combinations. Want to play a Terraria mod pack but don't like the mod that we chose for the Birth Souls? Well, it won't be a problem because there will be so many other mod packs with different mods made by other teams. Plus, the API is made to be very accessible, requiring requiring minimal knowledge of C# and a very understandable documentation. So even if you are not a modding expert, you will still be able to create mod packs easily with the API. For the first version of the mod available now, only the first 2 systems are completed and ready to be used. So let's go over them and also reveal what will be the last tool that will come out in a future update. As I said, the first system included in the API is a tool that allows you to dynamically modify any recipes to add, remove, change ingredients, results, or crafting station by only using a single JSON file with extremely simple syntax. This tool will be very useful to create compatibility and cross the progression from multiple mods. The second system will work in kind of the same way, but instead of changing recipes, you change the statistics of NPCs and projectiles. This tool will mainly be used for balancing changes, as you will be able to adjust stuff like boss health, enemy health, down NPCs item price, and many other things to keep the experience balanced, or even go completely ballistic and make a mod pack where everything is multiplied by 10 or something. The possibilities for developers are endless. The final system, and maybe the most important, is the quest book. Because yes, the quest system isn't only made for this mod pack, but is designed to be usable for other mod packs as well. What we plan to do is to make the quest book customizable for mod pack developers with a way to create custom quest chapters, the quests themselves, and even the rewards that you can get from them. In the best case scenario, the quest configuration will be done with an in-game UI, but if it is too hard to develop, we would just have it use JSON like the other 2 systems, but try to make it as understandable as possible like the other 2 systems. Well, that is pretty much all I have to say about the biggest things that we've been working on, but there is a lot of other things that I didn't mention in this video, like boss balancing, some other interesting boss progression ideas, but that would be for the next video. In the meantime, if you are interested in the mod pack and want to get more news about it, you can join my Discord server. And if you want to support this project, you can join the Patreon in the description, where all the money generated here goes to the development of the mod pack or other related projects. Or use code BROM when renting a server on Bisect Hosting to get 25% off your first month. I want to thank all of the Patreons that contributed. Your support is what's allowing this project to see the light of day and be developed by all of the very talented team we assembled. I also want to thank Fantasmic and Autism Manifesto for the early help on the project, and also all of you guys watching and talking about the mod pack. I'm really happy with how the project is turning out, and with all of the support from you guys, I'm sure that we won't stop with the Bare of Souls once it's finished, and could try to do a lot of other projects that have been requested by the community for a long time, which is a thing I hope to talk in my next video, which will be mainly focused on trying other projects to bring some hype back to the modded community. Now, that's it for today. Stay tuned for the next video, and have a great day.